This should look familiar. I'm back in the heart of the pyramid at the midway point, and now I have the balloon adapter, which is essentially item 1 for Mega Man 2, the levitating platform, except it's all balloony. Fun! This is the toughest section of all of Pharaoh Man stage, because you've got the platforms that are moving, and they disappear, and then the bats raining down from the heavens, and the bullets, and the spikes, boy! There's a lot going on, and it's recommended to go through there with special weapons if you have them. That's generally good advice, go through with special weapons. This room always baffled me. It's pretty, but it serves no function whatsoever. I always thought you should be able to blow through the right wall with drill bomb or something. See how there's enough room to slide between the moving platform and the stone platform there? If you're ever up for a really big challenge one day, try sliding underneath that stone rather than walking over top of it. See how long you survive. It's good fun. Now at this point, most players would be switching over to Bright Man's weapon because Pharaoh Man is the only boss in the game who is frozen in time when you use Flash Stopper. And this kind of makes sense because Pharaoh Man is essentially some sort of ancient, priceless work of art, and when you're in an art museum, they tell you not to use flash photography on the ancient art pieces because you'll damage them. It works pretty well. And Pharaoh Man, I think, is one of the best designed bosses in the entire classic Mega Man series. He's a little bit unpredictable, but he does sort of have a pattern, and he feels more like you're fighting a human player than most of the other bosses, not quite so systematic or totally random. So I like the way that he's designed. Overall, great boss. Now those torches aren't shedding enough light for my taste. Let's brighten this place up. I love Flash Stopper. Woohoo! Mega Man 4 has a lot of great weapons, but Pharaoh Man is not a weapon, but Pharaoh Man's weapon is one of the best, and I will be showing it to you ad nauseum in Skullman stage. Skullman is my all-time favorite Mega Man boss, well, of this game, but he's one of my all-time favorite bosses in general. Here we go. Pharaoh Shot is sort of like a supercharged version of the Mega Buster. You can charge it up, and when you do, you get a very large fireball that forms over your head that vaporizes just about anything that comes into contact with it. As long as the fireball is more powerful than the thing it's destroying, the fireball stays. If the thing doesn't get killed immediately by the fireball disappears. Like here, I was just starting to form a fireball over my head, but when it's still small, it's not all that powerful. So the ball that was bouncing around and the fireball canceled each other out. Also, as you saw there, the Pharaoh Shot can fire in 6 different directions, just like the Shadow Blade. So it's a really powerful, handy weapon. Now, these enemies can only be killed with a fully charged Mega Buster Shot or Pharaoh Shot, and also by freezing time with Bright Man's weapon. Another interesting thing about the Pharaoh Shot is that when it deflects off of enemies, when that fireball above your head disappears, for any reason, you still hold the charge. So that's why you'll see me with a fireball over my head, and then it disappears, and then I fire another one. So it works out very well. Anyways, enough about the Pharaoh Shot for a moment. Let me talk about another weapon, the drill bomb. Let me go back to that for a second. So notice this power up here. I'm shooting right through it. If you switch to the drill bomb and try and fire, look at that. Bink! Just deflected. I don't know why that is. That only happens with the power-ups that Flip-Top drops. Weird little quirk. Totally insignificant, but another one of the reasons it's one of those little things about the game that I just really enjoy. Incidentally, this is another one of those branching paths that dead ends and goodies. Ooh, you saw nothing. I can't really explain what just happened there. Controller failure, maybe? Fun fact! Flash Stopper not only freezes time, but it allows you to shoot enemies that normally your shots bounce off of. That's right, normally with these enemies, if you try and hit them from the front, your shots just bounce right off of them. However, there's some odd property about Flash Stopper that removes those extra bouncy defenses. Such as for these enemies here, normally if you hit them on the skull part on the back, your shots just bounce right off. So Flash Stopper eliminates that problem. You can also bypass that problem with Ring Boomerang as well, but I'll get there. Now see this? Watch where my arm cannon is. I go right through. Like, I shoot right through this guy's face. Come on! Balloon adapter, so now you can see that. It's got a brief cameo, but it'll be back. Getting into there without balloon adapter is just some very careful inching forward and jumping carefully, but getting out of here, you almost necessarily need to slide out, because if you try and jump, sort of like that low ceiling that's the hardest jump in the game that I talked about in Drill Man stage to get the 1-up, because you have such a low ceiling there, it doesn't really give you any room for error. If you jump and you're not close enough, you just sort of hit your head on the ceiling and fall to your doom. No good. And now the sky has changed colors. It's a little thing, but it's still one of those really great details that just helps to make the game a richer experience. I love Skull Man's stage. I love the way it's put together. I love that there's this line of dinky power-ups when they could have just given you one big one. I mean, there's a lot of things to like about Mega Man 4. I love the details and the level designs. Skull Man stage especially is just, it's beautiful to me. You know, beautiful in that 8-bit way. Like the robot dinosaur skeleton in the wall. This is great stuff here. Okay, you go first, Skull Man. You don't want to go? Okay, I'll go. Yeah, Skull Man is funny because, like Gemini Man, he doesn't attack until you attack. And his barrier deflects almost everything, actually. If you use Toad Man's weapon, you can penetrate his barrier. And same deal with Drill Man's weapon, which I'm going to unsuccessfully attempt here. If you detonate it prematurely, you can actually get in a single damage on him, but it's a little tricky to do, so really, just stick with whatever weapon you're using, whether it's the Mega Buster or the Dust Crusher, and he'll go down fairly quickly enough. Just, you know, get into a groove fighting him. Now let's see if I'm lined up. Am I? Oh. Back on track. I like Skull Man best because of his stage, because of the music, because of his design, and because of his weapon. Skull Barrier is really handy, especially if you're struggling, because it not only destroys little enemies, but it cancels out projectiles. So Skull Man's a pretty good bet for first as well, but most people will go to Toad Man first, and now I'm finally headed there. If you've never played a Mega Man game before, and shame on you by the way, or even if you have, this beginning section can really throw you off, because the rain is driving so hard that it pushes you backwards when you jump. Now this isn't such a big deal at the beginning, but once you try it and get across bottomless pits, it can really throw off your jumping mojo. This part is okay, it's the next jump, this one right here, you see it's just a little bit close. Fortunately, Mega Man 4 sort of has a built-in difficulty slider where you can make the game much easier on yourself thanks to all these special weapons and utilities. So for example, if that jump is too much for you, just bring out Rush Coil and you can bounce over the pit and bypass it altogether. That's why weapons such as Flash Stopper and Skull Barrier are really useful for people who are having some difficulty with the game, because it makes things way easier. So you can sort of challenge yourself, or you can take it easy on yourself. One of the reasons why Mega Man 4 has a high level of replayability. Also, there are some hidden power-ups in the water on the left side there. Now, I totally botched, I don't know if it was another button mishap or whatever, but I didn't hit these guys, so I needed to bring out Skull Barrier, which was probably the easiest way, when you're surrounded by a bunch of enemies, to take them out quickly. So, as I was just saying, you can make the game a lot easier on yourself using some of the special weapons. Snail of Doom. This snail can only be hit when its eyes are open, and I haven't really figured out exactly which weapon is the best to use. Dust Crusher's pretty effective, so that's what I'm using, but really, whatever strikes your fancy. I mean, he explodes, you just gotta dodge the bombs, and the eyes especially are difficult. And we were just at the midway point here, and it's time for yet another Snail boss. This Snail mini-boss is more difficult than Toad Man, actually, because you've got the regular Snail problems, and the waterfall here is pushing you in two directions, left if you're on the left side, right if you're on the right side, and you can't jump to your full height if you're standing right underneath the waterfall, which is a nice touch. So it's pretty trickly, indeed, with the waterfall. It's trickly. You might want to use Rush Coil to get through this double platform section here. The jump is a little unfriendly. And I'm using Skull Barrier not to be easy on myself. I was trying to time it just right so I would hit the barrier button just as the fish was colliding into me, so he would suddenly explode. It looks really cool if you can do it right consistently. Hopefully it looked cool. Maybe a little bit. Here's something you'll never see. Somebody actually using the correct special weapon on Toad Man. You don't need it. If you hit him, he can't perform his wiggly butt rain dance to call down acid rain and attack you. He can't hurt you. How about now? No, go ahead, try now. Denied! Maybe he'll try and jump on you. You run or slide under him. And then you shoot him. Piece of toad cake. Toad cake.